In this triad exercise, we're asked to graph 4y squared minus 25x squared equals 100. Now we have an x squared term and a y squared term, and subtraction is involved. So we know that there is going to be, well, and the coefficient, the leading coefficient is positive, so we know that this is going to be a hyperbola. Now, how do we graph a hyperbola when we're given this form? Well, ultimately, we want to end up with the form y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. Well, how do we do that? With this, we just divide everything by 100. Divide both sides by 100, and we get y squared over 100 divided by 4 is 25. So in other words, when we divide by 100, the 4 cancels, and we're left with 25 in the denominator, minus x squared over the 25 cancels, and 100 divided by 25 is 4, and then 100 divided by 100 just equals 1. So now we have our standard form. The y squared term comes first. It's positive, so we know that it's going to have a vertical axis. It's going to go up and down, open up and down. With the vertices, we have a squared equals 25. Now notice there's nothing being added or subtracted to x before it's squared, so we know that the center is the origin again. So a squared equals 25. A then equals plus or minus 5. And since it's a vertical axis, we're going to be going up and down for these vertices. So that means we're going to have vertices at 0, -5, and 0, 5. So let's go ahead and graph those. 0, 5, 0, -5. B squared, we know, is 4. So B equals plus or minus 2. And that's going to give us -2, 0, and 2, 0. So we go ahead and plot those. And then we make our box. Remember, our asymptotes should go through the corners of the box. So our asymptotes y equals plus or minus a over bx, which equals plus or minus a is 5, b is 2, plus or minus 5 over 2x. Is our rise over run 5 over 2 to get to the corners of our box? Up 5 over 2, or down 5 and left 2. So yes, that checks out. So we can go ahead and draw in our asymptotes through the corners of the box. That's going to give us where the hyperbola approaches infinitely in the direction of the asymptote. A little off there at first. All right, so now we know it opens up and down. So we just go to our vertices, and then we show the hyperbola infinitely approaching those asymptotes. Don't forget the arrows on the end to indicate that end behavior. So again, how we found the standard form was we just divided both sides by 100 to get it in standard form. Y squared term comes first, so we know that the axis is up and down, or in other words, that the hyperbola opens up and down. We found our vertices by finding A and B and drew our box through those vertices, verified that the corners of the box were correct because the formula for the asymptotes is y equals plus or minus a over bx. Drew in our asymptotes, and then drew in the hyperbola going up and down, infinitely approaching those asymptotes.